Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is match preview showtime. And this Saturday, Gills travel north for the penultimate away game of the season as we take on Mark Hughes' Bradford City. A Bradford City that are still chasing down them playoff spaces, still chasing down them automatic promotion spaces. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by, if not a familiar face, a very familiar voice to social media. It is Liam Chu, a Bradford fan, and he is host of the most unprofessional professional podcast in the Football League, the lower league. Look, if you want to go and check them out, I'll put their details in the description at the bottom of the video. Well worth a listen. Go and have a listen to their 606 shows. They are brilliant fun as well. I wish I had more time myself to look at all of them. Liam, appreciate you coming on because I know you are doing one of your shows at 7 o'clock this evening, so we've got to get going with this one before you go and host that. You well?
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm very tired. It's been a long nine days, 3 away trips, 2 of them long 10-hour round trips, and both of the long round trips we didn't score. We lost one and we drew 1-0. So yeah, not
ideal. And I think everyone's at that stage of the season now. I've been speaking to a couple of the Gills players and also just fans, and I said as much as our second half of the season has been brilliant fun, it's been draining for one reason or another, and I think everybody does need a rest. But yours might be extended by a few more weeks, depending on where you do end up finishing. Let's have a look at recent form for both sides. So we always look at the last 6. Bradford 11 points from the last half dozen games. That's a trio of wins, 2 draws, solitary defeat in the last 6 in League Two. Gills, it's 1 point less. It's 10 points from 18 over the last half a dozen. 3 wins, but 2 defeats and only 1 draw. We break it down further to home and away. The gap gets slightly bigger. Gills have not been great on the road for a little while. But Bradford first, it's exactly the same record as overall. It's 11 points from 18. Gills have lost their last 3 at Barrow, Northampton and Walsall. But before that, it was a pair of draws and a win. So it's only 5 points from the last half dozen on the road. So work to do, certainly, for the rest of this season and moving forward. Liam, talk to me about Tuesday night. That was one of them long away trips that you've just sort of touched on. And unfortunately, it was a goal and a result for Swindon that ultimately affected your game and affected our game as well. But let's talk about your performance and your result first.
Yeah, I mean, we had a game in, well, we still have a game in hand. So last night we went in having played 41, 5 still to play. And I said out of those 5, we can afford 1 slip up. Only 1 game can we afford to slip up. And I said a couple of weeks ago, it will be the Swindon game. And I went on the Swindon podcast on Monday night and they were all so downbeat. And I think one of them predicted we'd win 6-0. There was 4-0 Bradford. There was 3-0 Bradford. I said, you guys will win. Yeah, you guys are going to win tomorrow. I went to the ground. I met fans there. Said the same. You're going to win tonight. I assure you. Came off at half time. We should have probably been ahead in the first half. We had a couple of chances. We wasted them. Harry Lewis kept the score at 0-0 as far as Swindon's chances are concerned. But when I was talking to the Swindon guys at halftime in the media room, they said the same thing. Like, you can see it's coming. I said, that's the story of our season. You can see it's coming. Doesn't mean it's gonna. And it didn't. Swindon went ahead, and I don't know. Second half, we just fell apart. We had nothing, and the Bradford fans kind of blamed Darren Drysdale. We knew Drysdale has a bit of history with Bradford. He's had it for, I think, 15, 16 years since he sent Dean Windass off in the car park at Valley Parade after a game, and we've never had a decent performance, I would say, out of him. But he didn't get much wrong last night. There's a debatable penalty in the 88th minute, but we're 1-0 down to a team that's lost 9 or hasn't won in 9 games in the 88th minute. It's not enough to blame the referee at that point. We had 88 minutes prior to that where we should have taken advantage and we didn't. Sure. And I think we've got 8 or 9 players out injured now. 3 more last night went out during the match, 1 before the match. So we lost Halliday to sickness, who I think will be back for the game Saturday, but we lost Harry Chapman, who we think is out for the season. Luke Hendry went off with I think a calf issue, and Liam Rydalls went off with a bust nose. He literally had blood everywhere. So I don't know if he'll be back for the weekend, but that just adds to the list. But we've still got Andy Cook, 27 goals. So let's see what happens. And you know all about him from a few months back.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, let's talk about it quickly because We know there was talk at the time of Maxima, our defender, just should have just cleared it into the stand or just whacked it into touch or whatever, or just clipped it down the line, but tried to be a bit clever and sort of fell over it. And it's easy to blame the defender in a situation like that, but my point of view was Cookie still had absolutely loads to do. The covering centre half, Connor Masterson, came across, he put him on his arse.
Yeah.
And then Glenn Morris, who for me is one of the best keepers in the division, he sat him down as well and clipped it over, and it was a brilliant finish. And sometimes you just have to sit and applaud. And I had this chat with Reese from German Gills on my Monday review show the other day, and you don't always have to blame someone from your own team when you concede a goal. I get the bit about Maxima because he should have just smashed it into the Gordon Road stand. But from there, Andy Cook was absolutely majestic. And sometimes you just have to go, fair play, that's a brilliant goal. And he's done it a lot this season. He's not the only team. He's done it to better teams than Gills throughout the campaign.
He did it the week before, the almost identical goal. I can't remember who against, but yeah, no, you're right. There was no danger. Even like looking at your defender, yeah, maybe you should have blasted it into the stand, but even when Cook got the ball, there was no danger at that point.
No, he's on the halfway line essentially.
Yeah, and on the touchline as well. He's got to get himself into a position, and I don't know. He's just had one of those seasons where every single time he's got forward, he's looked like it's going in. Weirdly, I think for the first time this year, he's gone 2 games without scoring.
Oh, drought! What a pain in the arse. I mean,
but it's horrible, isn't it?
He's only scored 8 less than us, I think, in the league.
But here's the thing: fans last night, on the way home, I was looking on Twitter and they were like, "Cook's off form." I said, "What do you mean Cook's off form?" Well, he didn't score on Saturday. I said, "Yeah, but he didn't play poor on Saturday. We had 3 other goal scorers on Saturday. He looked good. We looked good against Rochdale. He doesn't have to score. The team put in a good performance last night. Everyone was off form. Swindon fans." You know my relationship with Swindon fans on Twitter. I love to wind Swindon fans up. Anyway,
yes, I've seen it a lot.
I actually really like Swindon as a club, and it just sort of came from a few fans in my DMs in pre-season that were quite arrogant, and we predicted, same with Doncaster. You were on our prediction show with Aaron Challoner for Doncaster in pre-season. We predicted Doncaster would be sort of where they are now, and they were gobsmacked. We did the same with Swindon. We said they'd finish between 12th and 15th, and the abuse that we got was just, it was unreal. And I was like, right, now I really want you to finish between 12th and 15th. And so every time they've slipped up, it's kind of been a bit of fun and a bit of back and forth. But last night, the first winning, 10 games for them, they win a game, and their first reaction, most of their fans, was to go on Twitter and tweet me. And I was like, guys, I said you'd win. You said you'd lose.
Exactly.
I was the only one who predicted a win here. Like I said, that's our only slip up we can afford. And I know you guys you're like a rejuvenated Gillingham side since Christmas.
Yeah.
I think, are we still the only team that's beat you at yours?
Since the takeover, yeah. We've won 9 of the last 11 at the Priestfield. The only points we've dropped are at home to you and Stockport's last minute equaliser at the weekend.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of picked up our home form, so apologies, but we can't afford to drop points at the weekend. I'm not saying we won't, because there's two.
No, and also it comes back to the fact that now we are safe. So subconsciously, our players might drop off, as much as the manager will come out and say he won't allow it, and the players won't allow themselves to do it. There is this thing now where you relax. We might relax and go and turn you over. You never know, and play freedom. But I think there's obviously, because there's a greater need for Bradford. But we'll get to score predictions in a minute. One weird little stat from your last 6 games is you've either scored 0 or 3 in each of them. You scored 3 times and drawn a blank 3 times, I think.
Have we?
I think so. I'm sure I looked at it.
That does sound like Grimsby, Sutton and Rochdale. Yeah. And then Crawley, Swindon, and who will be the other? It'd be an away game who we nilled against as well. I can't remember who it'll be, but yeah, Crawley, Swindon, the nils. But yeah, Rochdale, Sutton and Grimsby are the 3s, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that means we're due a 3.
Yeah, I did look at it and I thought, and then I thought, oh no, yeah, that might be that they get a 3 on Saturday. Both sides have kept 3 clean sheets in the last half dozen as well. So defensively, we're going to be sound. Obviously, we had a brilliant result Tuesday night against the team that I still think will be champions. Obviously, the game changed on the red card. There's no point dressing it up. For 10 minutes, we didn't touch the football. We could have been 1-0 down. Glenn Morris made a good save. but you can only beat what's in front of you, and we could only beat 10. I said at the start of the game, if there was anyone that was going to give us a chance, it'd be Omar Beckles. I think he likes to overplay. I think he takes chances. I didn't think he'd go and karate kick someone in the chest inside 15 minutes when he's through on goal. But obviously the double whammy for them was that we scored directly from the free kick as well. So it changed their whole approach. They could have sat in and tried to play for a draw if it hadn't gone in and caught us on the break, because they've got better players than us, and there's no point pretending that. But yeah, I thought we managed the game really well from 1-0. And aside from the half-hour delay, because all the lights went off in the whole of Gillingham, apparently it wasn't just a stadium issue, it was a town issue. So we had to wait around a bit longer to be confirmed as safe and watch them be confirmed as promoted because of your result as well. It was a very strange evening.
Yeah.
I'll go back. You've already mentioned it, Liam. I want to go right back to the start of the season. I came on your show and we was talking about predictions, and I'd done my season preview for my channel, and I said 4th for Bradford. And I'm not going to say you took exception, but you said we'll be higher because we've got the best squad in the division. You're currently 6th, and if you win your game in hand, you go 4th.
Yeah.
I've got to drag this back because I said Gills would finish 8th. The question I want to ask you now, though, is the playoffs going to be classed as a successful season? I know you can only answer that if you win the playoffs, essentially, but getting into the playoffs is still an achievement in itself, more so for different clubs. I understand that. I'd say if you looked at a Carlisle fan, they'd say it's a bigger achievement getting in the playoffs than a Bradford fan. Would that still be a successful season, or is the demand still, it has to be automatic?
Oh, you see, I look at there's 2 sets of expectations in what we do. So there are the club's expectations, and then there are the fans' expectations, and they are on 2 different levels.
Oh, absolutely. I've noticed that since the takeover. Like, some Gills fans are like think that we just should be smashing teams every week, and we're not allowed to lose, and the manager should be sacked every other defeat.
Yeah, and next season that's going to get worse for you.
Oh, absolutely, and I understand that, but that comes with budgets and better players. But at the moment, we had a transfer window to get us out of trouble, and we've done that. And we worry about next season.
Exactly. Your main aim was to survive when he came in, and
it was to get to 22nd.
Yeah, and you've smashed it. And so I think for us, if we get out of this division, it's a success, because that's all we as fans really care about. That come August, we are lining up in League One. If it's automatic, so be it. If we win the playoffs, so be it. If we don't go up in the playoffs, I think it is considered a failure, because the reason I put us higher, and when I said we have the best squad in the league, I genuinely believed it. You know, on paper, if you put down the players side by side, like before a ball was kicked, we were there.
And there's always that natural bias towards your own club. That can't be helped. We all do that.
Yeah. And I think for us, it just kind of, we had a very rough start, very mismatched. It took us a long time to settle in, and then I think if you look over the last 25 games in the league, we are top of the form table. So we kind of, last night was our first loss away from home in 2023. We kind of found our form around Christmas after going through a really rough patch. Cook kept us in it for the first half of the season. He did. And then, you know, it like I say, we struggled. We found our form, and now we're in that position where we can still go up automatics. I believe if we've got Northampton to play in our next 4 games. If we win all 4 of our games, unless Northampton, I believe, get a really large swing on goal difference, we would go
exactly the same at the moment. It's exactly the same at the moment, yeah.
So if we win all our games, and obviously that means Northampton would lose, so they'd go down by at least 1 goal on goal difference. They would have to sort of swing it elsewhere, and we would go up automatics that way. Annoyingly, up until last night, if we'd have won last night and we'd have won our next 4 games, doesn't matter what anyone around us does, we'd have gone up autos. So, no, I don't think it'll be a failure if we go up playoffs. If we don't go up at all, it should be looked at as a failure, because we had the squad.
That's it, and that's what I meant. I said if you get in the playoffs and win at Wembley, you've set out whether you finish first, second, third, or 7th. You've got promoted.
Yeah.
So, but I was just curious as to see whether at the moment people were saying, the playoffs is fine, or we've got to get in the top 3 to say it is a proper successful season.
So people are in meltdown on the Bradford hashtag after last night. People are in meltdown, and we're sat in the playoffs. You know, like, if 12 months ago, if you'd have told me we'd have been sat in the playoffs, I'd have been absolutely delighted. But
that's what made me ask, and it's similar to like
yeah,
Stevenage's situation. Obviously, we know they've had a massive rough trot, and they just sorted it out in the last couple with 2 favourable home games and getting some help, and I get that. But Stevenage and obviously I speak to Matt Farley quite a lot, he comes on the EFL show with Gabe Sutton on a Thursday that we do together, and he cracks me up because every week, even though they'd lost or they'd not won in 6, it was like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting just to be in there. If we just pinch this one, we're going to be fine. And you're thinking, you've not won for 2 months,
yeah.
But the energy and the optimism was brilliant because they was getting relegated before Steve Evans took over, and whatever your opinion is on Steve Evans, away from the football manager ability, he's done a brilliant job. You can't take that away from him. So it's a similar sort of situation. Obviously, yours is on a slightly grander scale, size of club, fan base, that type of thing. I get that. You mentioned Andy Cook, how single-handedly he was keeping you in contention probably first half of the season. There's one man I want to talk about who's had a very contrasting season, and that's former Gillingham striker Vadaine Oliver. Because you asked me when he signed, and I said if you play the right system and you play to his strengths, he'll have a good season. That's not happened for one reason or another. I know he's had a couple of injury problems. He's only scored 3 times in the league, I think 4 in all competitions, and is a perennial substitute essentially. I get that the form of Andy Cook obviously doesn't help Vadaine's cause, but what other reasons would you say that it's just not quite worked out for V? Because his figures stood up in the division above before he came into this division to play for Mark Hughes.
I think it is just down to style of play. What we've found is when we've been, let's say we've been trailing or we've been drawing in the the 80th minute of a game, and we've kind of moved away from playing out of the back, and we are just hammering the ball forward. We will get him on because he wins. And even now, even though he's not scoring goals, he wins every single header. And when we're playing the ball on the floor, he's not as effective. No. We've got more effective players in that, and that's kind of how we like to play. We pass it, we pass out from the back, and we are trying to. The annoying thing is we try to walk the ball into the net. And last night we were 1-0 down, and we had the ball on the edge of the box. We had 3 or 4 players around it, and they were just passing it, and it was like little tiny passes to each other. It's like just someone shoot, but we're trying to find a space to walk in, and Oliver doesn't fit that mold. If we sort of get to that point where we're going to start hammering it in from 20 yards out into the box and just hope that he drops to someone, that's his game. And when he's come on and we have resorted to that game, it's worked very well. And that's where his 3 goals came from. I think he got 2 of them in one game, or he got 1 and then it was awarded as an own goal. And then I think it came back to him. I'm not sure if they officially awarded it back to him, but he's happy to be, even though he knows he's not the main man. Like, I've spoken to him so many times this season, like he understands his role. And he's here for 3 years. We're talking about a long-term plan with him, and at some stage we are going to have to adopt that style of football because the players that we've got are good for pass and move football in League 2. Once we get, if we get up to League 1, we're going to have to either find better players for that style of football, or we're going to have to resort to that long ball,
or find different ways. Yeah,
and that's where he comes in. And like you say, in League 1, he's shown that he can do it. So
yeah, he was phenomenal for us. For even in the season we went down, he was still our top scorer comfortably, and he was playing when he was not fit, and he had other issues that I won't go into.
And he's massive.
Yeah, he's a huge bloke.
He's absolutely huge.
Yeah, he's an absolute tank. He's a top bloke as well, to be fair to him. So yeah, fingers crossed that he can still play a part.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether that's to get you up automatically or to get you into the playoffs at the very least.
A winner on Saturday.
Yeah, that'd be very Gillingham, to be fair. Yeah, last minute or something. Yeah, right in front of our fans. Yeah. Thanks for that. Obviously, we're recording this on a Wednesday, so there's no official team news yet because it's generally every club's day off, and I say that each week when I do these shows. But in terms of, you've mentioned more injuries picked up in the week. How do you see Mark Hughes lining up Saturday afternoon?
Brad Halliday should be coming back in, which is quite lucky because Hendry was his replacement last night and he went off injured. So I expect Halliday to come back in at right back. Matty Platt was sent off a couple of games ago. He's had a 2-match ban, and then last night didn't get back in because Critchlow and Stubbs obviously have been playing so well together. But I think last night maybe put a question mark over that. So Platt may come back in for Critchlow. So we may see Stubbs and Platt. We'll see. Hopefully Liam Rydell's left back because we don't have anyone else at this point. He's got that busted nose, but surely it won't keep him out. Midfield, you'll still see Smallwood and Gilead. Chapman's out, so we could see Dion Pereira come back in. Jamie Walker, and then you'll see Andy Cook up top. I think is that 10. I've named a 10 there.
I think you've missed a right winger.
Don't matter. We'll just play 10. To be fair, it could be Matt Derbyshire. The way that we line up at the front is a little bit different. Scott Banks has been playing phenomenal out on the right, so yeah, most likely Scott Banks, but he got subbed off at just early in the second half last night, which was weird because he was our best player, and I haven't heard if he's had a knock or anything, so I don't know. That's probably it. But Cook will be there.
I'm sure Matt Derbyshire was 35 about 15 years ago, wasn't he?
So I was talking to him last week. I spoke to him last week about that, and I asked his age because he didn't believe it or not, he doesn't look it. He doesn't. He genuinely doesn't look. And when he told me his age, I felt so bad because he's older than me, and I was like, I feel so unfit and unhealthy. And he was like, I'm 37 in 2 weeks. So he's 37. He'll have gone 37 now. Mm-hmm. And we've got him for another season. We signed him on an 18-month deal. So he'll be 38 going 39 by the time the season's over.
And potentially stepping back up a level as well. If everything goes to plan, of course.
He has looked good. He scored a worldie against Stevenage. He has looked good. He then got injured, so we haven't seen too much of him. But from what we have seen, he is quite a busy player. Seems to complement Cook well, and that's what's kept Oliver out as well.
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough. We know it'd be a test, regardless of who you play. You've got a big squad. You've got a good squad.
Biggest in the league.
There you go. There you go. I don't know the numbers. You do. That's fair enough. Gills is difficult because we sort of had this chat before we started pressing the record button, and we don't know now whether Neil Harris is going to rest a load, play a load of fringe players, have a look at people, assessing them in terms of those that are out of contract, because he started seeming to do that on the bench. There's been a couple of changes from game to game over the last couple of weeks on the substitutes bench, so now whether he moves that into the 11, I'm not sure. Newport at home will probably be the dead rubber, if we're going to label one, because both sides have got nothing to play for, both safe, can't really go anywhere in the division. And then obviously we go Salford final day, so that'd be another big game, because I think Salford will probably need something to potentially get into the playoffs. So I'm going to say that Neil Harris is going to go as full strength as possible. So I know we've got no Ben Reeves, Lewis Walker, Scott Cashkett, and I think Aidan O'Brien now. I don't know what he's done. He had to come off. We had to finish with 10 men against Northampton on Easter Monday. We've not heard anything official. I've not listened to his interview since Tuesday's game, so I don't know what the length of injury time is for O'Brien, but I can't see him being fit for Saturday. So for me, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think if everyone's fit and Neil Harris is going to go down the route of going strong as possible, I think it'll be the same 11 that started. So that'd be Glenn Morris in goal, Shea Alexander, Maxima, Connor Masterson and Robbie McKenzie. Tim Dieng and Sean Williams sitting in front protecting. Three in front of that would be Alex McDonald, George Lapsley and Dom Jeffries. And then Tom Nichols leading the line, which we sort of raised eyebrows at when we did it at home to Stockport, because Ollie Hawkins was unavailable due to illness. And we thought, can Tom Nichols lead the line against three big centre halves on his own? Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Was clever with his movement, made sure that he was pulling them out of their comfort zone. Decent against Leyton Orient as well, but obviously in a very different environment because they had to sacrifice players because of the red card. But yeah, I think it's been refreshing to see us, because we've had to play a slightly different way. It's very easy to hit Ollie Hawkins when he's there, and if he's not there, you then have to learn to get it on the deck a bit more and try and play through teams. And we've done that generally very well against two of the best sides in the division over the last 5 days. So it'll be another test now going away and trying to do it. And that's probably the last thing we've got to tick off in terms of since the takeover, is going away to a side in the top portion of the table and winning. Whether we do it or not is not important, I think, for me. That's a longer term thing for next season. Obviously, if we want to be in the top 10, the top 8, the top 5, we've got to start doing that regularly. But this season was about January to now, and we've done that very successfully. Yeah. Before I let you go, because I'm conscious it's 5 minutes until your show starts, score prediction.
I forgot you had Tim Dieng. So he played for us, and he scores against us like all the time. Last season, I think we played Exeter 5 times because we played them twice in the league. We got them in the cup. We drew. We had the replay at theirs. They made 6 substitutions, and the FA made us replay the game. which was Lee Angol got sent off in the game that they made us replay, but he still was banned.
Even though the game was void.
Yeah, but he was red carded in a game, but he played in the replay. So it was so strange. But Dieng tears us apart every time. So yeah, Dieng's going to score.
I might change my prediction. Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Bradford. And at this point, I'd take it.
It comes back to what I said earlier in the show, Liam. I just think there's a greater need for Bradford, and the fact that you slipped up on Tuesday night, I think, sees that you probably get a reaction.
Yeah.
You have a better squad than us. We can't get away from that. You have more to play for than us. And I don't like predicting against my team, especially in the current form that we've been in for the best part of 3 months.
Yeah.
But I can't get away from the fact that we might just not stop, but sit off a little compared to what the intensity levels have been in recent weeks. And for that reason, I think that Bradford might just nick it and keep the automatic promotion dream alive.
I hope so.
I'm
sick of this league. Oh, he probably will. I'm sick of this league. And thing is, I'm going to cover this league anyway because regardless of whether Bradford go up and Hartlepool go down, I'm still going to cover this league. But I'm just sick of my team being in it. I hate this place. And next season's going to be awful because of the 2 coming up, whoever that may be. Obviously, Wrexham. Maybe.
Yeah, we know they're going to go in and be favourites to win the title, and that's understandable, isn't it? But this is, I was having this chat with a Leyton Orient fan earlier. He DM'd me and said, you're going to be up there next season based on what we saw. But obviously, no one can get away from the fact that Wrexham are going to be in the division, it looks like. Yeah. But I think the exciting thing about us and Brad Gallinson is we've only had one window. We're not sure just how much spending power we may have in the summer. Yeah. So obviously, it's quite exciting and intriguing, and that little bit of the unknown of how much we can go and do. But expectations will rise because of the form currently and because of the fact that we'll spend more and people will want us to be better.
Exactly. Definitely.
Liam, it's been a real pleasure, mate. I'm going to let you go and host your 606 show. Like I said, Gills fans, Bradford fans, please comment down below. Let us know what you think your team will be. Let us know what your score predictions will be. Go and follow Liam. Go and follow the Lower League Look. It's a brilliantly unprofessional podcast, full of great characters, full of great content, full of great guests. Do not forget that all these videos are in association with Art of Football. I will put the link in the description at the bottom of the video. Unfortunately, not travelling up to Bradford for the game at the weekend, but hopefully we'll be back Monday with Reese for a Monday review to look back on the fixture. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Gills.